Hey everyone, and welcome back to Neonatas. This is episode 3, and today we are going to be talking about my journey so far within life and my lessons from my life's highs and lows. So, we're going to first start off with my early life, talk about my upbringing and the environment that I grew up in. Some of this was kind of mentioned in my previous 2 episodes, so if you haven't already, please go and watch those. And I will be talking about other things today other than the things that I've previously mentioned. I will also be speaking about memories that have shaped my perspective on life and contributing to my upbringing and my environment, including any people, events, or experiences that left an impact on me and how these shaped my personality's values or goals. Then I'll be talking about the highs, so my successful moments in life so far that made me feel proud or fulfilled, or how this impacted my confidence and outlook. There were also some unexpected wins in there, so I will also reflect on those and what they taught me. And then I'll move on to the lows, so the more challenging moments in my life that made me feel like a failure, set me back a bit, or just felt difficult. And how I learnt from this and what I learnt from this as well, and how I recovered. And to conclude then, I will also talk about the takeaways, such as the biggest lessons that I've learned and how this has shaped my perspective on life and what my current outlook on life is as a result. And I think that basically rounds everything up quite nicely. So, first of all, we will start with my early life. So, when I was 3, my parents split up, so I kind of was stretched between different households throughout the week. So, for example, when I was in school, my life would basically look something like I would be with my mum on Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Friday mornings. And then I'll be with my dad, who either lived at my grandparents' or had his own house, on Wednesday nights, Friday nights, Saturdays and Sundays. And also peppered in there as well, I would also stay with my auntie, my grandparents, my nan, and sometimes my childminder in the summer as well, which we touched on previously, so I won't go into that one very much, but I'll go into the rest of them. Both of my parents were very active in my life, as you can tell by the almost basically even split throughout the weeks. And I also have really good relationships and connections with my grandparents, my nan, and my auntie and uncle. There was a little bit of loneliness that happened in my life, and I think that's also where my need for control came from as well, so that affected my personality and my values a lot, where I always feel the need to manipulate or control a situation, because if it is unknown to me, then it's quite scary, and I feel uncomfortable or unsure about something, and I feel a bit on edge, This potentially came from the instability of moving around and not having a real home base, although I always remember referring to my grandparents' house as my home base because I was there by choice the most out of everywhere, and they were always there for me when I needed it. That's where I would always go back home from school if I could help it. So what would usually happen when I was in school was I would wake up with my mum's, let's just say it was a Monday, and then my mum would drop me to my nan's, so her mum. Then I would go to school. Then I would be picked up by my nan, and then I would go back to my mum's later that night, Or if it was my dad's turn, what I would probably do was wake up at my mum's, go to my nan's, go to school, go back to my grandparents, and then my dad would pick me up from there, or if he was living there at the time, we would both stay there that night. And then some weekends would be shared with my auntie, so I would stay over her house on the weekend, or she would bring her dog down to my grandparents and I'd stay there and look after him. All these people have really shaped me as a person in different ways. So, for example, I remember my dad like cleaning something and I was like, oh my gosh, you're really, going ham with that. And it was like a really basic thing to be doing. I think he was literally cleaning the back of his car or something, like sweeping all the leaves out. And I just remember him saying something like, oh, well, my opinion is that if you're going to do something, you might as well do it to the best of your ability. Otherwise, don't do it at all. And I think that's where a tinge of my perfectionist value comes from, because I overthink things quite a lot. And if I am going to try something, then I make sure that I'm as prepared as possible to be able to do it. Otherwise, I don't even bother trying, which is technically not the best thing, but it's a thing. And then I would say that my mum has taught me that no matter like what I do in life, that there's always a place to go back to, even if I haven't succeeded in something, I've tried my best, and I can appreciate or be appreciated for that. I think she also taught me that... Oh, I lost my train of thought then. I had it and then it's gone. I can't remember, maybe I'll come back to that. My auntie was like the fun doer, so, when I used to stay with her, we used to make like brownies with like hazelnuts in them. She used to have 2 guinea pigs, so I'd be out in the garden with those, or I'd be out in the garden with her dog, or I'd be looking for the tortoise that she had, or we would just be doing something like, I don't know, helping build something or create something. My uncle used to have a studio in their old house, so we used to make music, and we used to have like a rip-off version of Take That called Take Them. And I remember we spent like 2 days in his studio recording like the song for Rule the World by Take That. And that was really fun, and that really stood out to me. They're definitely the people that I go to for out their opinions and for the creative part of my life. I think that they're the best people to do that. They always enter into competitions within their village, and they always come out on top because they have a good crack at things, and they spend a lot of time doing things to the best of their abilities. In terms of my grandparents, I think, well, my nan has always been the one to be like, right, don't go down this alley now or you'll get kidnapped or robbed. So she's definitely put in the awareness and anxiety aspect of my personality, of everything that could go wrong is something that I've considered at least once when considering all outcomes of a situation. And my grandfather really taught me about really having a crack at things, and I feel like I really inherited having a go at things and not being scared, and that he taught me a lot of like physical skills. So like when he was building his conservatory, he'd throw me up on the roof to be like, oh yeah, just fix that into place, here's a hammer, here's this, here's that, just give it a knock and it'll be fine, and things like that. He was very smart, and he used his brain a lot, and I think I got that from him and my dad, I would probably say. In terms of Nana Val, which is my other nan, who actually passed away this week on Tuesday, hence why I've been away. She has always taught me to not worry about things, and that you'll always have support, or if you want to do something, then go and do it without a backward glance. And I think that in this day and age, that's really important, because sometimes I feel like life is quite difficult and tries to drag you back a lot because of financial situations, and opportunities being a lot thinner than years ago. So I think that being able to grasp anything that you can, or claw your way up in a situation. For example, she was really smart in school, but she taught herself like how to type on computers, and she ended up working for the council, and she gained qualifications by working them instead of going to school for them or college. But she really dug herself into something and got the best out of it, you know what I mean? So I think that my work ethic is from everyone, but it is really inspired by her, because you can see how much she's done in her life without any fear. If she wants something, she just goes for it, and I really respect that, and that is definitely something that I do as well. And I always knew that if I needed her, I always had her backing, or at least like financial support from it. So yeah, that's probably why some of my goals are really out there for my life, whereas other people are more reserved with their goals. Not that that's a bad thing, but my family certainly taught me that just going for something is encouraged, and to learn to do things myself and to do them to the best of my ability, and that it's okay to try my best, and even if I tried my best and didn't succeed that much, then it's still okay, and that I still have a home with them, you know what I mean? So next we're going to be talking about the highs of my life, so a few successful moments that made me proud or fulfilled. I would definitely say, I think I mentioned this in the last episode, so working in a vet clinic for my work experience and during the summer really made me feel proud and fulfilled, because I was with animals. I that's just where I feel like I belong, and definitely completing my levels in horse riding. Once again, I was with animals, that's where I felt like I belonged. And I think these two things really impacted how I saw life and how I saw what I wanted to achieve in the end of my life, is being able to take care of animals, be with animals, do horse riding, have horses and stuff like that. I think also looking back, we used to go to Spain a lot. We used to go like 4 times a year, and knowing that like 8-year-old me could drive a boat and just be completely fearless at that age really makes me proud, and to be able to do things just naturally because of what my family taught me from a young age, or being confident enough to do things that people usually wouldn't do, does really make me feel proud and fulfilled. For one example of this is when my dad didn't want me to go to South Korea for a holiday, I just kind of booked it and went anyway. Another thing was just taking the leap and going all the way up to North England to attend university when I didn't know anyone. I wasn't close to anyone. I was like 4 hours away from my family. And my mum was like completely in bits, but I was just like, yeah, okay, it's fine. But I met like some of the best people of my life, like my best friend, a few of my best friends actually, and because of that degree, I actually met my boyfriend. So yeah, I just feel proud about all of that. In a way, I also feel proud of myself for, I don't know, passing my driving test and going back to my A-levels after failing a year. I failed a year of college in my AS level, so I had to go back and redo it all again whilst watching all of my friends and everyone I knew like go off to university while I was still in the second year of A-level. Like, that's quite challenging for someone like me who always is used to being on par with everyone, and especially in academic ways as well. I just feel like I was so used to being up with all my friends that when I went away to college and left all my friends behind in school, because they did their A-levels through school, and I moved away to college to do them. Not moved away, but like moved to. And coming back and having to like still keep my chin up, knowing that I made that mistake and basically wasted a year of my life, and yet still achieving my A-levels, albeit they weren't the best, but like I did it. But doing that really showed me that I am capable of doing that kind of thing. Another one that is probably my most meaningful memory is bringing my boyfriend over from China. I would say I think I've touched on this in the first episode, but I asked my parents to support me in bringing my boyfriend over from China, and to come and live with us, a complete stranger that I just video called online for like 3 years. So not a stranger. I didn't feel like he was a stranger, but obviously my parents were like, you're insane. But thankfully my mum and stepdad Mark really supported me in this, and I honestly couldn't have done it without them. And that really like boosted my confidence and made me feel bright about my outlook on life, because I know that even in difficult and questionable decisions, like my mum at least would have my back. My dad really wasn't happy with it. He was like, absolutely not, I'm not supporting you in this at all. He was exactly the same with South Korea. Like, he was the reason that I almost didn't go, because he was like, you don't understand how dangerous it is. There's no way I'm letting you as a 19-year-old go out there all the way by yourself, 17 hours away with your friend. And I was like, well, I'm going anyway. And then he rang me like a couple of days before I actually went, and he was like, oh yeah, I just had a Google about it, and yeah, it doesn't seem so bad as I thought originally. And I was like, yeah, exactly. So you really don't have much say when you're very uneducated on these topics, and yet you're trying to make a decision for me. And I know technically he was just doing it for my best interests, because it was a really far away country, but he really wasn't educated until he forced himself to be educated. And I really think that is something that my nan has given to him as well, in terms of his personality, is like the anxiety part and the worry part, the let's look at every single option as a bad outcome, and most of the time it's actually not. So I have more confidence in myself and more of an outlook on life where I can really back myself now after making these types of decisions. Because even when bringing my boyfriend over here, my dad was like, there's no way I'm supporting you on this. And my nan, his mum, was exactly the same, because they were like, you don't know him, you don't know what he's going to be like. Whereas my mum and my stepdad were like, yep, here's the hotel tickets, give us a ring when you've picked him up, we want to meet him, blah blah blah, he can come and live with us until you can move out, this, that, the other. There's two completely different sides to my family, And the side that supports me really gives me the confidence too, but the side that doesn't also gives me the stubbornness to just do it anyway, because we don't have another life after this. We have one life, so we might as well just have a go at it and do and try things that we want to, because we're never going to have time or the chance to try it again once that opportunity is passed. So we might as well have a crack at it. And the earlier you take these chances, the quicker or the earlier on in your life you can fix them. There's no point in waiting for something. Let's just say, like, you have an opportunity when you're really young and you don't take it, and then later on in life the opportunity arises again and you take it, and it goes so much better than you think, and the outcome would have been like that when you were younger, and you could have benefited for so much longer than the later part of your life. However, obviously, some opportunities that come around might not be ready for you the first time they come, so just bear that in mind when you're thinking about things like that. So yeah, I would definitely say that the last one was an unexpected one as well, because things just turned out really well. I'm still with my boyfriend. We've just bought a house together. He's passed his driving test. He passed university. We both work full-time jobs, and just things are looking really well, and our life has like finally started, and it's going really nicely, to be honest. I think like all of these high points really taught me about just going for something, to be honest. It doesn't matter what it is, if I want it, and usually I have a gut feeling about something, and a lot of the times that gut feeling is right, I would say, not to like toot my own horn or anything, but most of the time if I'm going with something, the anxiety part of my brain usually tells me if it's not a good idea, so I do think about all of the outcomes, and if all of the outcomes are mostly positive or I can get something from it, then usually I do go for it. And like I said, most of the things that I've gone for have been successful and have been okay, so it has really benefited me to go for things that some people don't necessarily agree with, and people not agreeing with it really makes me thankful for the people that do agree with it and support me, because it really puts my trust in them then more for the next time, because, and vice versa really, because they know then to trust me more. Even the people that didn't trust me learned to trust me more in these situations, because I'm not stupid. My dad even like came back to me after the South Korea thing and the boyfriend thing, and he was like, oh yeah, you're right, like I should know that you're sensible and that you've thought everything through, and you're not just reckless. And I was like, yeah, exactly. I think the lows in my life and the most challenging moments really feed well into the highs, because the setbacks, failures, or difficult times in my life kind of integrate with the points that I made in the highs, that they just come around later on in life and kind of prove to you that if you just continued at the earlier date of the setback, that, you know, the outcome will be fine anyway. So take, for example, my first challenging moment was something that I mentioned in episode 2, which was when I went horse riding and I just learned to trot, and I had my grandfather like trotting around the arena with me, like holding on to the horse, bless him. And we were finishing the lesson, and I watched this girl get off, and she got her foot stuck, went to hop off and winded herself. And me being me at the time was like, oh my god, like that can't happen to me. I just can't do horse riding anymore. And I'm kind of going through that now. So I'm currently in the same setback as I was years ago when I was 8, that I can't possibly be injured while horse riding, because that is just not me. I need to be perfect at all times, and I need to be great, and I need to be safe and healthy. Not that horse riders aren't safe and healthy, but most of the time they do get injured at some point in their horse riding career, right? So I then pretended I was ill for weeks and weeks and weeks when I had a lesson booked for the week after, let's just say every Saturday. And every Saturday my parents would be like, right, Nia, you going horse riding? And I'd be like, no, I don't feel well. I feel sick. I don't want to go. And then it just got to the point where my dad was like, Nia, you going? And I was like, no, I don't want to. So he was like, right, if you keep doing this, then we'll have to cancel them. And I was like, okay, because I was just too scared. Fast forward 4 years to 12 or 13-year-old me. I was like, oh my God, I miss horse riding so much. Like, I need to go back. And when I did, in the first and second lesson that I had, I went into private lessons then to kind of catch up. I was trotting on my own. I cantered like on the second lesson. I could do it, but I just was scared of falling. But there's always that risk of something happening, like even sitting in on our own houses, like I'm hoping not, but like the ceiling could collapse, you know what I mean? A natural disaster could happen that could affect us, and yet that doesn't mean that we shouldn't continue living our lives, and that definitely shouldn't mean that we shouldn't actively do things that we enjoy with the risk of something happening, you know, otherwise there'd never be any happy moments. And this is going to sound cheesy, and I'm sure everyone's heard this before, like, you can't have highs without the lows, otherwise the highs wouldn't be highs, because everything would just feel the same and monotonous. I can't speak today. So yeah, I would definitely say that's the first setback, and I'm currently experiencing that now. So I went horse riding in August, and I fell off, and I really hurt my coccyx. And now I'm like, I haven't been horse riding for like 3 or 4 months, and I miss it so much. So in January, I'm getting my butt back into gear and getting back on a horse and getting a grip with myself, because I miss it. Like, that is my life goal, and now I kind of feel lost because of it. And, you know, being self-aware and really open about it, actually, like, what do I think is gonna come out of this? Because I'm just technically ruining myself at the moment, because being inside so much, because I'm not going every week to horse riding and being outside, has really affected like my health, because I'm not working out. I haven't been to the gym as a knock-on effect of like being too nervous. I've lost all of my muscle. I don't go for walks anymore because I don't really like going out at the moment. I'm not being social. I'm not getting my daily outside time in the light, so I'm low in vitamin D and iron at the moment, and I'm on supplements for the next 3 months. And it's a piece of rubbish, because like, who am I and what am I doing to myself? Sorry, kind of a side rant there. But yeah, so the next one I would say definitely a failure is my A-levels, as I touched on in my highs just now, but we're going to talk about the dreaded year of where I failed. So basically, in the last year of my GCSEs, I did really well in my exams, and then as a result, I went to my cousin's for the summer, had a great time, was like, this is it, I'm done. my life is done. I've passed all my GCSEs. That's the hardest part of my life complete, and I absolutely smashed it. I did really well, so I could continue on with A-levels, and I picked biology, chemistry, maths, and what did I pick? Biology, chemistry, maths, and oh my god, I'm completely drawing a blank. Did I just pick 3? I don't think I did. Was it English? Maybe it was English, right? So that's 4 A-levels, which is hard enough doing 3. And then I got in with the wrong crowd. During my last year of GCSE, I started hanging around with these people that really enjoyed like staying over each other's houses. I thought that was great because I was being included. I was with people all the time, so I wasn't feeling lonely at home and stuck in the house with my parents. I was doing what I want because like I was on the brink of 17, 18, you know, two years away from being an adult. And I was thinking, yep, this is the life. This is like what I was meant to do. But then that kind of turned into me skipping classes. One of the people that I was hanging out with would drop out of college or fail the first year like me. I think they dropped out, to be honest. They were having issues at home, and then the commute to and from college was long, and then in the breaks that I had, I would be like just looking at Korean idols because that's where my obsession started it must have been when I was 16 going on 17, or I was already 17 anyway, whatever. And I just remember like that I just became like obsessed with Korean stuff, and that's all my life was. And then I remember having a chat with my biology teacher in the college, and she was like, Nia, if you don't do well in the next test, you're gonna have to like cut something out because you can't study for A-levels and be failing. Like, I won't allow you to. And I was just sat there thinking, oh my god, like, what am I gonna do? I've never failed at anything before. Perfectionist Nia creeping in again. And I was like, okay, I'll drop English. And that was the easiest one I could have dropped. That was also one of the subjects that I had an A in GCSE, so it was one of my highest achieving grades. My highest grades were maths, English, and biology. So chemistry wasn't even one of my highest grades, but I kept that in instead because I was like, I must have it to be a vet. That's like my best plan and chance. Fast forward to the end of the year, from all the drinking, staying at my friend's house, skipping classes, failing tests, I went into the exams, and I don't know if it's PTSD, I don't know if it's trauma, but I cannot remember anything. I don't even think I wrote anything. I think I wrote my name and just absolutely waffled for the entire 3 exams that I had, or maybe even more. Thought I aced it, and then I went to pick them up on the day of the results day, and the guy gave me the paper and was like, oh, if you need anything, like, just let me know. And I was like, okay, that's a bit weird. I was in a special pile, and he was like, yeah, if you need anything, just come and talk to me. And I was like, that's a bit weird. Turned around, opened it, 3 U's. I was mortified. I was absolutely horrified. And I was like, oh my god, what do I do now? Like, what do I actually do? So I went outside. My grandfather had taken me. And he was like waiting outside the car, smiling, expecting to be like, oh my god, you did it again. Like, you did really well. And I just went to him and I was like, I failed everything. And I can just remember the smile dropping from his face, and he just kind of slowly got back in the car. I rang my dad, who absolutely went off at me. Like, he was screeching down the phone. He kind of laughed at first because he couldn't believe it. And then he was like, he hung up on me, and then he rang me back and he was like, you better get back at that school and beg on your knees for them to take you back. So I did. I went straight up the school, and I was crying, and yeah, my dad was absolutely fuming with me. And but I got back in, and even though it was a year later than everyone else my age, I still managed to get the results to go to university. Not that that helped me, because I'm doing nothing related to my university degree now, so yeah, good luck with that, everyone, for the future. But yeah, that was really difficult for me, because that was like the first time that I'd let my parents down, let myself down, not done well from doing no work. And like the next 2 years, I was removed from horse riding by my dad. He was like, I'm using the money that you would usually use for horse riding for after school lessons. So I think it was like three days a week, I would go to like a study school and study and do like mocks, and then in the weeks that we had off, I would be in school for the entire week, like 5 days of the week, studying and going through mocks and learning new topics and stuff. But yeah, I ended up passing, and that definitely, how do I explain? Like, even though I was disappointed with myself, I know that there's always another way to do something. As the saying goes, there's always more than one way to skin a cat. So I knew that wasn't the end for me. It wasn't the end of the world, even though it felt like it at the moment. So there's always light at the end of the tunnel. But at the end, I just cut those people off that made me like that, because that wasn't the true me either. And I just feel like that was just, you need one of those years to just lay your hair down and do something stupid. I feel like that was me that year. But it kind of opened up another path for me anyway, because that's where my love of Korean music came from. That's why I went to a university to do Asia Pacific studies. And following on from that, actually, speaking of Asia Pacific studies, I found out that this was another difficult period in my life, because I actually didn't enjoy it as much as I thought I did. The languages were hard. The history and politics are things that I do not enjoy. Geography as well, and that was just like my entire degree just mushed into one. And that really made me reflect at the end, or towards the end. So I made a very good decision. And in my third year of university, I went and did a business module, which made me feed nicely into my business masters that I then picked up once finishing my degree. So, you can always reflect and change the path that you're going down by just making sure that you accept the mistake, plan accordingly to change it, and then make plans for the future to put you on a different path with a different outcome. And to be honest, I think that the challenging moments that I just spoke about are definitely ones that changed me for the better, I would say, because the more you make mistakes, not saying that you should make mistakes on purpose, but the more you make mistakes and the more accepting you are at making those mistakes, the more opportunities arise for you, because you're not looking at things that you can do well in. You're looking at things that you don't mind trying, even if it doesn't go well, you know what I mean? So you might surprise yourself and do well at something you didn't think you would do well in, and then that could open up a whole new path for you to go down if that's something that you wish to do. I would also say a difficult period in my life was definitely 4 years ago, and also this year especially. After the fall this year in August, it kind of like kick-started a self-reflection point in me, where I was like, oh my god, who am I if I don't like horses? Who am I if I don't have a future with animals? What do I do? Like, where do I go from here? Do I carry on horse riding? Am I even good at horse riding? Or if I'm not good at horse riding and people are just like being comforting and just letting me continue riding horses because they feel sorry for me, and my brain just absolutely spiraled, and I was just there like, well, what do I consider instead of horses if that's just something that I shouldn't pursue? And that just like absolutely shattered my future plan, because I was just stuck in this cycle of doubting myself and then going back and being like, am I just being stupid? What do I do instead? And then I would come up with nothing, and that's the first time that I've never looked at my future and been like, I know what I'm doing. And that really threw a spanner in the works for me, because I'm such a person that finds safety in plans and organising and knowing and controlling, that having no idea what I wanted in my future scared me. But in a way, it was a good thing, because it made me have a break from horse riding, and I'm still on that break, but I do plan to go back. But instead of being overwhelmed and forcing myself to do about 20 things a day to have the best chance at having the future that I'm trying to work so hard for, it really overwhelmed me to the point where my brain shut down and I could do nothing but lie on the sofa and just think and reflect about what I was doing, until I was fed up of doing nothing and had to really break down my hobbies and what I wanted at this point in my life. Not in 5 years' time, not in 10 years' time, nor in a year's time, not in 6 months' time, literally this month, this 1 month. What am I doing? That's all I wanted to ask myself, and it really slowed me down a bit, actually. And even though it was difficult for me to process and it really shut me down, I'm glad it happened, because now I can just focus more on being in the present. I know this was an absolute car crash of an explanation, but it enabled me to focus on the present and think about what I'd like now. And I was talking to Sam, my boyfriend, about this, and said that, what if I don't like horses anymore? What if that's not good for me? And what if I don't want horses like in the future, which I do. And he was like, so what? What if you don't? That's just you in the future, and just take it one step at a time, and that doesn't take away what you want now, and that's not who you are now. Like the difference between who you are now and who you will be, or who you want to be at that point, you're still two different people, and you need to just accept that and move through that and work your way to get to that point, instead of wishing you were that person now. So I don't know where I'm going with this, but like, I'm much more mindful on working on a goal in smaller chunks now, or like a bit at a time, or just the main things that I want to achieve. For example, my podcast and my gaming YouTube channel. If you haven't already, please go and check that out. The link's in my bio. that's two things that I'm really going to work hard on, especially in 2025, but I've worked really hard on that towards the end of 2024, and I've really seen the benefits from it because I've been throwing myself into that, and by being consistent, I've got a lot further in one thing than trying to spread myself out over like 5 or 6 different things and not seeing any progress or benefit at all because I'm burnt out. So I think January, looking forward, is going to be my month of continuing on with my gaming channel. Podcast once a week is not hard anyway. And then my start of my health regaining. So I'm going to prioritise walking once a week to get my vitamin D and iron. Horse riding to get my vitamin D and also my, what is it called? Endorphins? My happiness. And exercise as well. And still my gaming channel, but I'm hoping that I can fix some things before January. So literally this week is the deadline because it's nearly January, and maybe bring my gaming channel down to 1 series and 1 game to stream. So I am minimizing that aspect, but I'm maximizing other places in my life. I've also got a potential client for my coaching business, so there's that I need to focus on in January as well. So I will be more spread out, but I won't have as much things to do per each category, if that makes sense. Anyway, this has really like set me off of what I was talking about, but basically by breaking down and finding out that I can't always be perfect in horse riding has really made me think about my life and think about my goals and rearrange them more on being happy in the present as well as preparing for the future. And preparing for the future could look like anything. It could be like learning a skill that you might need. It could be taking a break from something that you want in the future. Or it could be kind of indirectly working on something that might benefit you in the future, such as passive income, something like that, or just learning something that might help you in another situation in the future as well. So, my advice that I would give to someone going through this would be that just take a deep breath. And if you need to go and sit back a bit and reevaluate everything or simplify something, then please make sure you do it, because that is something that really eased my brain, and overthinking is going and simplifying something that I didn't think could be simplified. And definitely, if you're worried about not being able to achieve what you want in your future, definitely think about how things that you're doing in your life currently can be used as a skill or as a hobby to be able to contribute to the future that you want instead, because not everything is achievable right now, and that's okay. So yeah, went a bit deep there. But I'm just going to talk about the takeaways of this now. So the key takeaways from this is basically what I just said, but also have the confidence to do something that not everyone might agree with, but you can always prove them wrong. Obviously, don't do something stupid like, for example, me bringing someone over from another country without even meeting them prior is not recommended unless you are very confident in who they are. Your parents have met them online, and they've proven themselves to you. This sounds like I'm really trying to endorse like a romance scam or something, but I swear to you I'm not. But yeah, like sometimes also things don't go to plan, but that's also okay because there's always more than one way to skin a cat. So I would definitely say that the highs and lows have both shaped who I am today, by giving me more resilience, giving me more self-confidence in making decisions for myself and not really caring on what other people think. And also having more faith in myself that even though something might not be achieved in the first way that I tried it, that it can be achieved in a second way instead, and that doesn't mean that I am any less capable, but maybe I just learn in a different way, needed a break, needed to step back and breathe, needed to simplify things, needed less things on my to-do list, or just needed a change of perspective. And in terms of my current outlook on life, and well, especially currently anyway, I would say that my perspective on life, success and challenges has definitely changed over the years, because I used to think that perfection was everything up until GCSE, where I'd literally never put a foot wrong and had perfect control over my life. That's definitely not something that I do now. I'm definitely more willing to try things than I used to be, because I'm more accepting that I'll make mistakes at first, but that means that I'm learning and that I'm evolving and that I could potentially be better than I was at it before. Take horse riding, for example. I have taken a break, but it's no longer like a 4-year gap. It is literally 4 months instead. And that still is longer than necessary, but sometimes you need that break to be able to go back in as a better person, a stronger person mentally. Like I've been really struggling with my mental health in terms of my resilience of myself and my self-confidence as well. But I definitely feel like when the time's right, I'll know, and I can go back in knowing that I've given myself that space, given myself the benefit of the doubt that I need the break, because life is hectic sometimes, and even if you enjoy something, even if it ends badly, you can still return to it later down the line without any feelings harmed, if that makes sense. So I think that my perspective on life has become a bit looser in terms of how harsh I am on myself. Again, something right the first time. My perspective on success is that success can happen in different ways, and it might not always happen on the first attempt, but that doesn't mean that it's a completely wasted cause. And I'm definitely more open to challenges now compared to what I was, because like I said, I'm more willing to make mistakes, so the challenges have increased for me due to being more open-minded about what things that I could try, take on and succeed at. And these lessons definitely guide me in my current chapter, because I am always continuing to try new things. I always get good feedback, and it's really shown, especially in my job as well, and with the people close to me, that they've commented that I'm never afraid to have a go at something, and I'm never afraid to stand out from the crowd a bit. And that's good, because I need to remind myself quite often that not everyone is going to like me, and that's still okay. As long as I can reach out to some people and they understand me and they like me for who I am, then that's all that matters, and I can keep those people who are more understanding, more accepting of me close, and just completely forget about the other people. But that goes to say as well that sometimes people that judge you might give you an opportunity to improve yourself too by commenting on maybe something that you're not as strong at, but something that you can work on. I hope that makes sense anyway. So, I have a question for you now. How have your highs and lows helped you grow as a person? Please share your stories in the comment below. I am looking forward to reading them when you have submitted them. So on that note, thank you so much for listening to my podcast. I hope it wasn't too waffly, and I cannot wait until the next episode of my podcast, which will be next week on Saturday. And it will be called Passions and Projects, What Lights Me Up. So I will be talking about how to identify your passions, projects that keep me motivated, the impact of passions in my life, and also some passions that I want to work on in the future and how they kind of tie into the dreams that I have, and also obviously projects and passions that I'm working on now, which is a very exciting topic for me because I love talking about passions. It's just, I love it. Anyways, please consider subscribing if you haven't already, and please leave a like on this podcast to let me know that you enjoyed it, and please don't forget to comment down below. If you feel like you know someone that might relate to this podcast episode, then please don't forget to share with them too, so we can share the love and appreciation of the podcasts and maybe get someone else involved. But other than that, I will leave you all now. I hope you have a good rest of your weekend, a very Merry Christmas, and I will see you next Saturday. Bye everyone.